Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here with some more Age of Sigmar combat cards. Now, like I said earlier, I have a lot of these cards already made so I can release these faction-focused videos pretty quickly, which is not very good for the YouTube algorithm, but I'm okay with that. Now, I don't usually say this, but I'll say this once now. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you don't like what you see, you can dislike the video, but only you and I will actually see that. If you don't care, then you don't have to do anything at all. But if you do care, please leave some feedback. I'm always happy to hear, and I will be glad to respond to any comments that people have as well. Now, today we're going to be looking at the Orcs, because who doesn't love Orcs? And I really enjoyed making these cards. Right here we're looking at the three Warlords. On the left side is Gobsprak, the Warlord from the Cruel Boys sub-faction. He's got 6 health, 4 armor, 2 range because he's a spellcaster, 3 attacks at strength 5, and he is a tier 3 Warlord, tier 3 card, so 3 points. His special rule, the Mouth of Mork, is kind of a generic rule which just buffs one of your cards each turn for a random amount of strength. So you do have to choose which one you're buffing at the beginning of the turn, so just make sure you choose the one that is going to get a chance to attack that turn. Now in the middle we have Gordrak, and this guy is a beast on the tabletop, so I really wanted to represent that, writing that Maw Crusher there. He has 6 health and 6 armor, very tough, and a very powerful attack as well. His special rule, the Fist of Gork, is reminiscent of Ghazghkull Thraka, where it is dependent on how many bodyguards you kill before the Warlord deploys. So the more you kill, the stronger it will be. It's kind of like potentially a very big Furious Charge that can actually kill even some of the strongest units when he hits the field. So it also could do nothing. So it kind of is dependent on what type of deck you're facing. On the right side is a much cheaper tier 1 Warlord Headcracker, and he's got an Eye for Weakness for the special rule, which essentially gives you a target acquired against the enemies with 2 or less health. So it can just help you finish off those lower health enemies. I'm not sure how strong this actually is, but I'm interested to see which bodyguards actually combo the best with this guy. Now let's move on to the bodyguards. Here we've got some of the tier 1 infantry units. On the left is the Warchanta, who is revving up the boys for battle, and he's got Inspire, which allows you to reroll 1 failed attack per turn. In the middle is the Goblin Shooter. This thing has very low armor, so it's easily destroyed. It's got 4 attacks, but only 2 strength, so pretty weak attack there. Its trait is Endless, which allows it to respawn the first time it is killed, and it comes back with full health. On the right side, we've got the Brugit, which is the one healer in the Orc faction, and it's got pretty weak stats, but its main role, of course, is just to heal one of your more important cards. Next up, we got the Error Boy. This guy also has a fairly weak attack, only 2 attacks there, but Scout can combo well with certain cards, essentially setting up a more powerful attack. In the middle is the Wolf Rider, which has Outflank. Now, Outflank targets a specific enemy card and reduces the number of attacks, in this case by 1. Now, Outflank, the trait can be a little stronger depending on the card, though. So I think with the Seraphon, there was one card with Outflank. It was a tier 2 card, which reduced the number of attacks by 2. This is just a tier 1, so it's a slightly weaker version of Outflank. And on the right side is the Squig Hopper, and yeah, Taunt seemed like a pretty appropriate trait for that one, so there you go. Moving on to some of the tier 2 cards. On the left we got the Boar Boy, basic cavalry for the Orcs. It's got solid stats and Furious Charge. In the middle is the Crusher, which has a little less health but more armor, and it is a Berserker, so it can get up to 8 strength potentially. And then on the right is the River Troll, which has regeneration at the end of each turn on a 3+. Next up we got the Spider Rider. It's a tier 1 cavalry, and it has poison, which is a pretty powerful trait, but you do have to ensure that you deal damage in order to actually poison the card. And it's got kind of weak attack stats and also very low armor, so it's a very squishy unit. It's not going to last very long. In the middle we got the Savage Maniac, which is a tier 1 berserker, and on the right side we've got the Kilabo, which is a tier 3 card. It's kind of a glass cannon, a pretty low health for tier 3, but very powerful attack with armor piercing for the trait. And I changed the text for armor piercing, making it more like Big Game Hunter, so it only activates against targets with 5 or more armor and gives it a +1 to hit bonus. So it is a pretty powerful attack. It can pretty much guarantee that you'll get some damage in with each attack, but you do have to kind of keep it protected. Next up we got the Gorgrunta, which is the shock cavalry of the Orcs, tier 3, very solid stats and trample, which can potentially be very strong. It's best when you're hitting a unit that has already been weakened, so the damage isn't going to pass over all the time, but with good placement it can be very strong. In the middle we've got the Big Stabba, which is 2 orcs carrying a giant spear, and they've got a really powerful attack, but only 2 attacks, 2 attack dice, which is not very good. Armor piercing on this one, I don't know if this will be very good, but I do kind of just want to test it out to see if something with 2 attacks can actually function. On the right side we've got the Wergog Prophet, which is a spellcaster. Kind of weak attack, but a pretty strong trait, Arcane Blast, which guarantees that you can deal 1 damage at the end of each turn. Then we've got the Stone Troll. This is another tier 2 card with shields, which makes it unable to take more than 1 damage the turn it was played. So it can potentially be quite good. Take for example, if you deploy the Stone Troll across from like that big spider on the other side, which can potentially deal a whole lot of damage, the shield will prevent it from taking any more than 1 damage. Even if it gets poisoned, it will actually prevent that poison damage on the first turn. In the middle lane we got the Weird Knob, which is kind of a weaker version of the Prophet on the previous page. It's also got Arcane Blast. On the right side is the Arachnoirock Spider, and I really love this model. Bunch of goblins riding a gigantic spider. It is quite strong, and it's got poison, so strength 4 is not amazing, but 5 attacks is quite good, so it's almost always going to be dealing some damage. Next up is the Rock Lava, tier 2 artillery piece with very high strength but only 2 attacks. It's got Barrage for the trait, which deals an additional damage to an adjacent lane whenever you roll a 6 when attacking. So in this case it's not going to trigger very often, but later on we'll see cards with Barrage that have quite a few more attacks, so a lot more chances to trigger that. In the center is the Trogg Boss, another tier 3 card with a pretty powerful attack and regeneration on a 2+ at the end of each turn. And then finally, this is the last card here, the Goblin Fanatic, which has Furious Charge and a very powerful attack for a tier 1 card, but very low armor, very squishy card that is probably not going to last more than 1 turn in most cases. So there you have it. Those are all of the Orc cards here. Let me know if you think any of these traits are too strong or too weak, or if you have any other ideas, or if there are cards or models you'd like to see. And also, if you were to play this game, which of these cards do you think you would use? But yeah, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.